You can learn a lot about a person by watching what happens to time around them. Some people slow time down in a way that lets you breathe. Others speed it up until your choices blur. The Dark Triad, narcissism, psychopathy, Machiavellianism, depends on speed. It persuades you to move before you name what you're moving toward. If you only remember one line from this episode, let it be this. You don't have to diagnose to protect yourself. You only have to notice how time feels in their presence and then choose a pace you can own. Let's begin simply. Imagine a triangle drawn on a table. At one corner is narcissism, the hunger for admiration, the need to be the center of a room even when the room is one person wide. At another corner sits psychopathy, the chill in the air when charm shows up without empathy, the taste for risk with no brake pedal called remorse. The third corner is Machiavellianism, the strategy that treats people the way a chessboard treats pawns, useful, movable, replaceable. Few people are pure corners, most are blends. But once you see the shape, you stop arguing with masks. You stop explaining yourself to a story that keeps changing costumes. Narcissism sells a simple universe. I am the sun, you are the orbit. In the early days you feel unusually seen, as if the spotlight found your face and stayed there. It's intoxicating. You are complimented with a precision that seems like intimacy. Your laugh, your way of holding a cup, your rare combination of kindness and edge. Very quickly, gravity reveals its price. Praise becomes oxygen. You are piloting the oxygen tank. Disagreement feels like treason. What was once intimacy becomes surveillance. You begin to edit yourself preemptively so that the temperature in the room stays warm. The best indicator of whether you're with a narcissistic style isn't how they treat you on a good day. It's what happens when you say a gentle no. If no must be negotiated into a yes for peace to return, you're not negotiating. You're being trained. Psychopathy is colder and faster. It often arrives with wit and minimal friction. There's a glimmer in the eye that reads as confidence and a rhythm in the voice that sounds like competence. You may feel silly for asking for details because the presentation is so clean. Risk is their native tongue. If a rule gets in the way of a win, the rule is quaint. In conversation, they will move lines like cups in a street game. One moment they're joking, the next they're offended, then they're bored, then they're intensely present. Your nervous system thinks, finally, someone who doesn't waste time. What your nervous system forgets to ask is, whose time are we saving and at what cost? Machiavellianism is the most patient. It smiles and counts. It learns your calendar, your triggers, your loyalties, your weak places, your need to feel useful. It offers bargains that look like compromises and ends with you paying twice. With a Machiavellian, you don't feel rushed so much as steered. Your options narrow to the ones that serve the plan. They will say phrases like, "That's just how the world works," with a shrug that makes ethics sound naive. You will notice something odd. The facts seem to rearrange themselves after you agree. Promises move like furniture in a house where you can never remember what used to be in this corner. Now picture those corners blending. A narcissistic psychopathic mix will love-bomb you with confidence and ask you to jump into the deep end with no ladder. A narcissistic Machiavellian blend will keep score of every generous act, deliver speeches about loyalty, and collect favors like stamps. A psychopathic Machiavellian blend will be charming at dinner, fearless in a crisis, and absent the minute. Accountability knocks at the door. You do not need to name the recipe to tell when the dish burns your mouth. Notice schedules and consequences. Notice how often plans change to favor one person. Notice what happens to your reality when theirs is threatened. The most dangerous stories are not the ones that lie. They are the ones that make you hurry. To slow down, try a small practice that the Dark Triad hates. Sentence the claim. Not the vibe of what they said, not the feeling their face produced in your chest. The claim. "I'm the only one who really understands you" becomes, "They claim they understand me more than my friends and family." "If you were serious, you'd prove it tonight" becomes, "They claim that urgency equals sincerity." "Everybody knows Jack can't be trusted" becomes, "They claim there is a consensus about Jack's character." As soon as the claim sits on the table, you can ask the triangle of questions that gives you a grip again. Who is speaking and what do they gain? What is the evidence and how was it gathered? And what would an informed, generous opponent argue? You don't need a PhD for this. You need a chair, a pen, 10 minutes, and a willingness to be specific. You might be afraid that specificity will kill the romance or the energy or the momentum. It won't. It will kill the trance. Romance that cannot survive a question is not a romance. It is an audition. Energy that disappears when you pace it was never energy. It was manipulation borrowed from your need to be chosen. Momentum that relies on calling your boundary cold is not momentum you want to keep. Let's ground this in scenes, because the mind learns by scenes. Imagine you're dating someone who seems crafted by a screenwriter who read your diary. They like the exact books you love. They hate the exact people who hurt you. They say they've never met anyone who sees them the way you do, and somehow they say it on week 2. Then a test arrives disguised as a compliment. If we're this special, prove it. Come away with me tomorrow. Don't tell anyone. Let's show them what real connection looks like. Sentence the claim. The claim is that secrecy proves depth. Who benefits? What is the evidence that secrecy increases intimacy rather than isolates you from counsel? A generous opponent would say, intimacy grows when it can breathe in daylight. If the person sulks or rages when you ask to pace, you did not ruin the magic. You revealed the deal. Work, different scene. Your team lead announces an emergency. The deadline you learned about last night is suddenly noon today. The tone says, if you cared, you would have moved faster already. The triad lives comfortably in organizations because urgency forgives a multitude of sins. Sentence the claim. The claim is that the project fails if it isn't finished by noon. Evidence? Counterview? Ask 3 boring questions that brilliant manipulators hate. What actually breaks at noon? What is the minimum viable today? And who decided the clock? If the answers are fog, you have learned that the emergency is not an emergency. It is a tool. You can still choose to help, but you will do it conserving your future, not burning it. Family now. A relative tells you that the way you're setting boundaries makes them feel unloved. It's not yelling. It's disappointment delivered with the kind of sigh that makes you 5 years old again. The Machiavellian corner often arrives on a silver platter of care. Sentence the claim. The claim is that love equals full access. Who says? Evidence, counterview. The counterview is that love survives limits. In fact, it deepens because of them. If the conversation always shifts from the event to your tone, from the boundary to your character, hold the map steady. We can talk about my tone at 3. At the moment, I'm telling you my availability. You are not being difficult. You are refusing a triangle where one corner drains you while another corner tells you that being drained is virtuous. There is a paradox here. The more you study dark tactics, the easier it is to see them everywhere. That can make you brittle and suspicious. We don't want that. Steelman the other side, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve not to be wrong for years. Is there a world where this urgent request is real? Yes, when stakes are high, preparations were made, and the cost is shared. Is there a world where this intensity is love rather than capture? Yes, when intensity slows down when you ask it to, and where your no is treated as information, not betrayal. Is there a world where a strategic mind cares deeply? Yes, when strategy is declared in daylight, and people are treated as partners, not pieces. The Steelman move doesn't seat the triad at your table. It seats your judgment at the head of it. Let's talk about tells, the small repeated moves that reveal each corner's favorite lever. A narcissistic style treats praise like currency and criticism like a threat to survival. Notice compliments that shrink you. You're so strong. I don't know what I'd do without you. Offered right before they hand you a weight you didn't agree to carry. Notice apologies that relocate the problem into your reaction. I'm sorry you took it that way. Notice how they outsource judgments to vague crowds. People are saying the everyone knows. Healthy people own their feelings. Unhealthy people rent crowds to collect your obedience at a discount. A psychopathic style reduces everything to a bet. They will make you feel provincial for wanting guardrails. They often flirt with rules, then test whether you're willing to be the bad cop while they stay charming. Watch what happens after a no. Do they switch tactics and escalate risk? Do they create drama to keep you chasing equilibrium? The defense is not moral panic. It is consequence without ceremony. I don't do that. If it happens again, here's what I'll do. Then do it quietly. Attention is a reward. Don't pay. Them in the currency they crave. A Machiavellian style treats information as property and ethics as weather. They will exchange favors and later present an invoice you never agreed to. They will offer a choice where both options benefit them more than you. They will frame their self-interest as realism so that your fairness looks like idealism. Your tool here is the boring checklist. Write down agreements, put dates on promises. Ask what happens if we don't. Ask what success looks like in 2 weeks, not in the grand someday. The Machiavellian mind is less powerful when calendars and criteria are written in ink. It's tempting to want a single silver bullet rule. There isn't one, but there's a small sequence that works almost everywhere. First, name the claim. Second, run the source triangle. Who, evidence, counterview. Third, Steelman the opposite. Fourth, spot one bias in yourself. Fifth, ask then what twice. Sixth, decide with a cool hand. Save, share, ignore, investigate. You can perform that whole sequence in the time it takes to brew a cup of tea. The point is not to become invincible. The point is to become steady. Let me tell you a story about steadiness. A woman I know took a job under a boss who seemed like a dream. Visionary, funny, no patience for bureaucracy. She flourished in the first month. Then came the sudden weekend deadlines, the Monday morning rewrites, the praise that vanished when she asked for clarity, the friendly late-night messages that became not so friendly when she didn't reply. Her body told her before her brain did. Headaches on Sundays, a tightness in the chest she called the elevator. We sat down with a notebook and did the unglamorous thing. We wrote sentences. The claims were that the company would miss opportunities. If she didn't respond at midnight, that greatness requires chaos, that she was special, and therefore rules didn't apply. Who said so? What evidence? Counterview? The counterview was boring. Great work comes from consistent care, not adrenaline. A special employee is still human. Opportunities worth having have daylight. She decided on 3 small moves. No more midnight replies. All project instructions documented. Her weekly half-hour where she asked for priorities in writing. The boss called her rigid. The work improved. Her sleep returned. 2 months later, another team poached her with the same salary and a calendar. Her steadiness found a place where it wasn't called a flaw. You might say, I'm not in a position to do any of that. My partner, my manager, my family. My reality is the triangle. I hear you. You don't have to change the country you live in to change your pace inside it. Start with one tiny pause you can keep. I don't decide on the spot. Or, I'll reply tomorrow by 10. Or, we can talk about tone at 3. Right. Now we're on the event. These aren't magical, they are repeatable. The Dark Triad doesn't need to lose for you to win. It only needs to fail to speed you up. Every time you keep a small delay, you are tiring out its best muscle. Another scene more intimate. You love someone who runs hot and cold. They are a blend, part narcissistic, part Machiavellian. They arrive with flowers and silence your phone with a kiss, and a week later they accuse you of caring more about work than love. The conversation slides off the event and onto your character. You try to pour love on the fire, arms full of proof. The flames thank you and grow. Try something different. Name the rhythm before you name the blame. We have a pattern. Big warmth, then a demand, then a fight when I ask for pace. I'm not debating your feeling. I'm describing the drumbeat. If they can't hear the drumbeat, you did not fail to perform. You refuse to dance without music. Some relationships end on that sentence. The ones that survive begin there. We should talk about the part of you that cooperates with the triangle. It isn't a bad part. It learned long ago that being fast and helpful kept you safe. It learned to equate belonging with quick agreement and love with immediate access. That part of you will feel like you are betraying goodness when you slow down. You aren't. You're changing the definition of goodness from always available to reliably honest. Honesty needs time. Your yes will still be yes. It will just be a yes you can keep. What about forgiveness? People ask this with a mix of spirituality and exhaustion. Forgiveness does not mean re-entry. It means releasing your nervous system from carrying someone else's weather. You can forgive and block. You can forgive and document. You can forgive and set a boundary with a polite automation. My practice is that I don't reply after 9. If it's urgent, email the team address. The triangle calls that cold. It isn't. It is warmth scoped to the size of your life. Let's widen the lens to culture for a moment. Social platforms reward the loud, the certain, the fast. Outrage is cheap. Patience is hard to monetize. The Dark Triad scales beautifully online because performance looks like proof when you scroll. If you want to keep your mind while you swim, change how you touch the water. Follow at least one voice that routinely steelmans what it disagrees with. Save before you share. Read methods, paragraphs, not just headlines. Check once a day, not every hour. The algorithm builds a model of your hunger. Feed it steadiness and it will eventually offer you food, not just spice. All of this can sound exhausting. Paradoxically, it's less work than the alternative. Living in hurry is expensive. You spend time repairing what you agreed to too quickly, apologizing for words you said in the storm, recovering from rooms. That borrowed your attention, then handed it back dimmer. 10 minutes a day of clarity is cheaper than living on cleanup. There will be nights you are tired and tempted to buy the story that offers relief faster than truth. That is when you pull out a small card and write one sentence. The claim, the who, the evidence, the counterview. If you can't do the rest, do that. It will be enough more often than you think. Before we close, let's return to the triangle on the table and add one kindness. Not everyone who shows a corner is a monster. Sometimes people are using the tools that worked in rooms where gentleness lost. Sometimes they are on the other side of a habit they learned to survive. Compassion does not require access. You can say, "I wish you well," and also, "I'm going to walk." You can be the person who moves slowly enough to see the human and quickly enough to protect your own. Tonight, pick one interaction that left a residue, something that felt rushed, flattered, cornered, or quietly steered. Sentence the claim. Who is speaking and what do they gain? What's the evidence, and how would you know if you were wrong? What would a generous, smart opponent say? Spot the bias you favored. Ask then what twice, decide softly, save, share, ignore, investigate. Then go make tea. Look at how time feels in your chest. If it feels larger, you're doing this right. If it feels smaller, try again tomorrow, a little slower. A life with steady choices is not a life without risk. It is a life where risks are chosen by you, not rented from someone else's plan. You will still meet people who draw triangles. You will still feel the seduction of speed. That's fine. You're not trying to eliminate the weather. You're learning to carry an umbrella and to check the sky for yourself. On some days, you'll leave it at home and get wet. On other days, you'll watch a storm that used to sweep you away and think, "I see what that is now and I can wait it out." That thought is small and private and changes everything. It turns rooms that trained you to rush into rooms where you can breathe. It turns other people's plans into information rather than orders. It turns the Dark Triad back into corners on a table where you decide what shape your day will take. And if the voice in you still says, "But won't I be alone if I stop hurrying for approval?" hear another sentence answer it. The people who can meet you at your chosen speed are the ones worth building a life around. They exist. They will not require a performance to stay. They will not punish a pause. They will find your steadiness attractive because it means you will not sell them a pace you cannot keep. That is what the Dark Triad cannot offer, a pace that keeps you human. When you close this video, take 10 seconds before you open the next anything. Notice what tries to make you quick. Name its claim. Then choose a speed. If you sprint, let it be because you meant to. If you walk, let the quiet be your decision, not a punishment. Your life is not a race you must win by being first to say yes. It is a series of rooms you get to enter at a pace that keeps your dignity intact. That is the opposite of manipulation. That is self-respect practiced in minutes and measured in the kind of days that feel like yours again. If this helped you, reclaim your mind from manipulation. Subscribe to Dark Psyche Vision, tap like so it reaches someone who needs it, and share it with the one person ready to see the Dark Triad clearly. Now close the app, breathe, walk slowly, Let stillness reset your pace. The world will still be here when you return, and you'll meet it on your terms.